What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. I hope everybody's having a great day. Alright guys, I told you this video here was going to be cool, but this time we're not going to do any anomalies. It's going to be strictly informational, right? Alright, one of my subs had sent this to me and said, hey Chris, have a look at this link. And of course, I wanted to dig even more into this, so let me show you what I'm talking about. This is pretty cool, guys, because we're going to go right here to the WikiLeaks document exposes a secret US base on the moon. Imagine that. Alright, so in brief, you can see right here, a document published by WikiLeaks clearly implies that the United States has a secret base on the moon that was destroyed by Russia. It's one of the many interesting documents that suggest strange things are and have been happening on the moon. Is our world really as it's been presented? There are millions of pages of documents that are classified by multiple countries every single year. How is it possible to really determine what's going on behind the scenes? Why does secrecy rule? Alright, so if you're not familiar with WikiLeaks, now most of you guys are, I'm sure you are. This was actually Julian Assange. He is the founder of WikiLeaks, okay? And I love the way this guy is like a whistleblower, although our country didn't like it, at least the United States, and some other countries wanted his butt too because, he's basically leaking out, information that shouldn't be leaked out, right? And it says right here, Julian Assange, born Julian Paul Hawkins, 3 July 1971, is an Australian journalist, computer programmer, and a director of WikiLeaks. Assange describes himself as an advocate of informational transparency. Right off the bat, I love the guy, right? It basically says, it goes on to say how he founded in 2006, an international publishing organization known for revealing war crimes, human rights abuses, and corruption. It gets 2 thumbs up from me, that's for sure. Now, this goes on to everything when he was born, what he did as a child, how he grew up, the whole 9 yards, right? But let's bounce back to this WikiLeaks document right here. Now, if you go down to right here, a note from author, I recently published an article that goes into detail about Julian Assange's arrest tells us about our world. Now, you read right here and it said the idea of something strange may be happening on the moon is not far-fetched at all. In fact, given all the information that's now available within the public domain on the subject, it's hard to see how it's not a fact. Without speculating here, we can conclude that this is what it says it is, a report regarding possible space wars that are taking place in the classified world. The document title alone not only exposes the reality of alleged wars, but the possibility of secret moon base belonging to the United States that apparently was in operation until it was destroyed by UR, or the Soviet Union. And of course you can review the archives right here, and then of course it says right here, and this is one of the small text or little documents, report that UR destroyed secret moon base, and of course this was in date 1979, January 24th, right? And we can jump down to right here. First of all, the idea of bases on the moon have been an open discussion within the government for a long time, although the information isn't easy to find, but it's definitely out there. A document from the government's own publishing office is a great example. It clearly shows one of the goals of the United States government is to build a base on the moon, and this is as far back as 1966. And of course, you can click on the source link. And guys, keep in mind, anything I show you right now on any of these pages, you'll get all the links to it, so you don't have to worry about hunting for it as usual. A portion of the document reads, with reference to President Kennedy and Johnson, in a statement by Hahn, George P. Miller. I also believe that we can and will achieve the goal set by Presidents Kennedy and Johnson. A man landing on the moon before 1970. My own confidence in our rapidly advanced science and technology is such that I can visualize many more dramatic achievements ahead, although I will fix no timeline for them. One, the exploration of lunar surface, and possibly the establishment of one or more permanent bases. Sorry about that. And we can drop down to right here. It says, take a look at the screenshot below. Taken from the CIA electronic reading room in the form of a memorandum that was addressed to the CIA director regarding a military thought, top secret, by Lieutenant General Karanevsky. Guess I'm pronouncing that right. Already interested in the moon is not limited to a study of questions and a discussion of discovered potentialities. Specific projects are being worked out which propose the construction of various structures under the surface of the moon from the freight department of missiles and also the employment of various versions of pneumatic structures. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and also various American companies, Martin, Aerospace, etc., are conducting a great deal of work in this direction. See what I'm saying, guys? This gets crazy. And if you read down here, it says a declassified report by the Air Force Nuclear Weapons Center from June 1959 shows just how seriously they considered a plan called Project A-119. In general, they wanted to investigate the capability of weapons in space, as well as gain further insight into space environment and the detonation of nuclear devices within it. Now, this one here, another document from 1965 regarding the CIA keeping tabs on Soviet space plans, reads as follows. The Soviets have additionally stated their intention to establish a lunar base subsequent to manned lunar landing, but no significant details or meaningful timetables have been revealed. If Soviet manned lunar landing is undertaken as follow-up to extensive Earth orbit operations and instrumented exploration of the moon, it is likely that we'll enjoy some advantages in the establishment of a lunar base. Such an approach would allow for the concurrent development of the technology of lunar transportation and that of maintaining man in space for extended periods. It is possible that a later lunar landing, say that 5 times fast, may be followed fairly rapidly by the establishment of the Soviet base on the moon. All right, again, we're not going to get into too much of that because I'll read on for hours. So now let's go into this. You guys are going to find this pretty interesting. Now, they had this space treaty. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but this came out in 1967. Okay, and this is basically saying we don't want to weaponize anything to do with space, right? Outer Space Treaty. The Outer Space Treaty, formerly the Treaty of Principles governing the activities of states in the exploration of use of outer space, including the moon and other celestial bodies. Get that, if that's not interesting enough. Is a treaty that forms a basis of international space law. The treaty was open for signature in the United States, the United Kingdom, and the Soviet Union on 27 January 1967, and entered into force on 10th of October 1967. As of February 2019, 108 countries are parties to the treaty, while another 23 have signed the treaty but have not complete ratification. In addition, Taiwan, which is currently recognized by 16 UN member states, ratified the treaty prior to the United Nations General Assembly's vote to transfer China's seat to the People's Republic of China, or the PRC, in 1971. The Outer Space Treaty does not ban military activities within space or the weaponizing of space, with the exception of the placement of weapons of mass destruction in space. Okay, so, and you can get into this. Again, you guys will get all the links. You can see right here where they've got the countries that jumped in on it, and of course, look at them all. What, are you kidding me right now? List of parties. Here you go. There's not a whole lot of countries that are not in on this, okay? I just recently watched a video not too long ago about, had Neil deGrasse Tyson on it, and he was talking about how weaponizing space, but he went on to say that we don't necessarily have to use nukes, lasers, any of that sort. All you got to do is use just a projectile, right? Just like a big bolt. I mean, most of these orbiting spacecraft are doing like 17,000 miles an hour, kind of like the ISS, right? So all they got to do is have like a little cannon and like launch a bolt about that big into another satellite. Here's the problem with it. Once you hit that satellite, it breaks up into pieces, right? Well, all of those pieces break up and they go and they slam other satellites, and it becomes this big domino effect to the point where there's no more satellites out in space. So it basically cripples the world because of no technology, as far as GPS, any kind of satellite TV, which is not a big deal, but you get the idea. So yeah, it's pretty wild, but the space treaty goes on more than that. Let me show you this letter here. You guys will love this. Okay, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this, and you can see it right here. Email for John Podesta, care of Aaron, Space Treaty attached. And it goes right here from terriblebillionaires at AOL.com to John Podesta, so on and so forth. Dear John, because the war in space is heating up, I felt you should be aware of several factors as you and I schedule our Skype talk. Now, this is where it gets crazier, right? Now, this is what it says. Remember, our non-violent ETI from the contiguous universe are helping us bring zero-point energy to Earth. They will not tolerate any forms of military violence on Earth or in space. The following information in italics was shared with me by my colleague, Carol Rawson, who worked closely for several years with Werner von Braun before his death. Get that, right? Carol and I have worked on the treaty on the prevention of placement of weapons in outer space attached for your convenience. Okay, now it just shows a couple of these right here, just articles, I guess where they got it from and stuff like that. And then we're going to drop down here. We are arguably closer than ever to war in space. Most satellites orbiting Earth belong to the US, China, and Russia. And recent tests of anti-satellite weapons don't exactly ease the scare factor. It sounds like science fiction, but the potential for real-life Star Wars is real enough. It's just not new. Fears of battles in space go back to the Cold War and several initiatives like President Reagan's Star Wars missile defense system. Deputy Defense Secretary Robert Work spoke in Congress in June about the threat. He said during the speech, the technology the U.S. developed during the Cold War allows it to project more power, more precisely, more swiftly, at less cost. Take a moment to think about everything satellites do. GPS, surveillance, communications, all depend on them. And the Scientific American notes you can disable satellites without missiles. Simply spray painting lenses or breaking antennas is enough. President Obama, get this, President Obama requested $5 billion for space defense in the 2016 fiscal budget. And the former Air Force officer told a former Air Force officer told the Scientific American most of the United States capabilities in space have been declassified to send a clear message. There are no rules for war in space. Now get this. Guess who signed it? Best regards, Edgar Mitchell. Apollo 14 astronaut, 6 man to walk on the moon, 0-point energy consultant. Now, if you guys look up Edgar Mitchell, funny enough, though, the guy was actually dabbling in that. He had a team of people that was working towards 0-point energy and other propulsions and stuff like that. Edgar was not an idiot. The guy was brilliant, in fact, right? He was into quantum holography as well as quantum physics. Just look him up. I mean, he was into everything. So now, let's check this out. If you click on here, I'm going to give you the source. You can go right here, attachments, and just download these two here, okay? And I've got them right here. And the first one, it's just talking about the treaties, the parties to this treaty. Destabilizing, it says, reaffirm the urgency of preventing a destabilizing, threatening, and costly arms race in space. And you can see it right here. It says, revised 9/1/14, Russia, China, 2008 proposed treaty, ready for leaders to sign. All right. The other one I want you guys to see that's even more awesome is this one here. Now, this one, I swear to God, when you read this thing, it seems like it's just crazy. I mean, this goes on. I mean, this is pretty long. You can see this right here, right? But I'm going to let you guys see this because this is just wild, right? All right, so if we go up to here, just this part alone is like blowing my mind. So let's make this a little bigger. Right here, this treaty incorporates a reality that humans have evolved into higher frequency of consciousness than that of the past. While language about the cosmic cultures, that's what they call it, ETs, is not directly stated, the concept is this treaty incorporates the fact that humanity is and will be officially in contact with cosmic cultures. Some humans are already in contact. And it is important to note that while there are many carefully taught ideas about the off-planet cultures, beings, and many perspectives and interpretations about experience and thoughts about ETs, the fact is that they have evolved. None of them are hostile, and it is time for humanity to evolve and live in peace as there is in space now. The last card, presented by Von Braun, is what we need to know is about to happen. But it hasn't because humanity is still willing to fight and destroy each other, and our common environment, so the war industry is continuing. There hasn't been a need to escalate that war mentality into space until recently. It is happening. With the confrontations during this time when humanity is about to deploy space-based technology in forms of advanced space stations, hotels, habitats, etc., and mining asteroids or fighting them, among the current conversations and intentions, the time has come when it is urgent to make sure that the world agreement to not base weapons in space. There is only one chance to get this treaty signed. This agreement among spacefaring nations. That is before weapons get based on stations, asteroids, celestial bodies, etc. In spite of rumors, there are no weapons based in space. The treaty has one purpose, to ban all space-based weapons, which is doable now. And I'm not going to get into the whole thing right now, guys, because, I mean, there's just a lot to read here, right? But when you get into this, it just talks about how we're already in contact with these aliens and stuff. If you read into this more and more, it basically states they will not tolerate it. They want us to actually further ourselves and basically stop, being at war with one another. And if you think about it, I thought about this. I'm saying, why would they care about weaponizing out in space, but don't let us kill each other off? That doesn't make much sense, does it? But if you guys remember, like the old Star Trek, because I'm a Trekkie myself, at least the original ones. And you go to the either original, even new. What was their prime directive? One of their prime directives, not to mess with the evolution of a civilization on a planet, right? So they're just saying, let them work it out, but we don't want you guys weaponizing here out in space. So if we were to progress and get better and better, then they would welcome us into the galactic family, if you will, I guess. And I believe that's the case. And I'm going to let you guys get these, and I'm going to show you where you can get them. Again, you can go back to right here, and all you got to do is, this is the email that was from Edgar Mitchell to Podesta. And then you can just click on either one of those, which is the ones I just showed you, right? So you'll get that link, and then just click on the attachments. They're not very big, very small. And the funny thing about it is, when you look at the Brookings Report, when did that come out? 1960. And basically what the Brookings Report is saying is that how would people react to the idea of other civilizations or other beings out in space other than ourselves, right? And again, 1960 just came out. Here's another thing. If you ever watched Paul Hellyer, he was the former Canadian Defense Minister. He talks about this right here. And you can see him right here. This is from RT, Russia Today. And you guys will get the links to that. This is 26 minutes long. But read what he says. He actually mentions, get this, Edgar Mitchell as well. And he said they were both sitting down talking about these aliens and UFOs. And yet when you listen to Edgar Mitchell, he never said, well, you know, there's probably, he always said that there's probably are maybe alien beings, but he's never seen any. And basically one of the questions were asked of Edgar was, a lot of the other astronauts claim that they've seen, at least a couple have seen other UFOs or some kind of strange objects on the moon. Have you seen anything? He goes, well, from what I've seen, I've never seen anything. It's almost like right to the very end, and I kind of wish he just would have just said it all, just said, yeah. But when you start to listen to him in his later interviews, he actually does talk about UFOs and if there's other alien, entities among us, so on and so forth, right? This gentleman here, Paul Hellyer, he actually talks about it. He literally says, he's saying that the aliens is saying, we don't want nothing to do with you guys if you're going to be like weaponizing space and everything else. And basically you're not ready. And didn't I say this in my video a while back? I said, if I was an alien race or somebody who was going to come down and check out Earth, I wouldn't want nothing to do with this damn planet. I mean, they just look at it and go, man, these people are a bunch of barbarians. They're not ready to be part of the neighborhood, so to speak. We want nothing to do with them. So, and they're saying in that treaty on these texts, they're saying we have some people here from Earth already in contact with them. So they're basically guiding us to do more things, and we will progress if only we would just straighten ourselves out. That's pretty much it. Let me see. Again, here's the Brookings Report, and that was basically from 1960. Actually, it was, but it's over here reported. I love the way this is too. If you look at it. Proposed studies on the implications of peaceful space activities for human affairs, often referred to as the Brookings Report, was a 1960 report commissioned by NASA. Okay, 1960. Jump ahead, you get the treaty, 1967. And of course, they revised it, so on and so forth. Okay, so it just makes you wonder, how long have they known about aliens? And I can almost promise you, it's probably before we even started to fly, right from before the Wright brothers. Now, if you go back to the ancient civilizations, our ancient people, they talked about, their gods from the heavens, how they came down. They taught them agriculture, taught them, how to read, write, the whole nine. I mean, they taught them everything. So when you think of the grand picture of everything, you've got stuff we're seeing on Mars, stuff we're seeing on the moon. Our own government's talking about this stuff. Even other countries are more open and they're more forthcoming of things like UFOs and stuff like that. And they're more than happy to just say, hey, look, this is what we've got. These are the reports we've got, so on and so forth. The United States won't do that. Why? Why is it a big deal? Why? I don't know if they just want to keep everybody in the dark. Who the hell knows, right? But regardless, when you think about it now, put all these puzzle pieces together, and it all comes together, one big puzzle, man. And I often wondered, okay, if these guys don't want us to weaponize space, I get that. That makes sense. But why are they allowing us to go to the moon, Mars, other celestial bodies in our solar system? As I said, though, it's kind of like that prime directive, do not mess with the civilization. Let them grow without being warmongering. Let them grow, expand, and once they understand their surroundings, maybe that's why we're seeing these things on the moon, or we've already established bases years ago, and then we're looking at an ancient civilization on Mars. They're probably saying, let them grow so they know they're part of something much larger, and therefore, once they straighten their act out and get their crap together, we'll allow them to, progress, and we'll help them out in the process. 0 point energy, whatever propulsions like Edgar was working on, his team and stuff like that. So put the grand picture together, man. And it's wild when you just really look at this stuff. Here's another article, which is not really an article at all. It's just saying message attributes, unclassified, which it is now because it was actually, brought out to the public. And you can go down here and it says subject report that UR destroyed secret U.S. base on the moon. Now these documents are the real deal. Let's suppose for a moment they're not. Let's suppose that it's all like kind of bogus and that it's basically to steer the populace into thinking a certain way. Okay, either way, to me, if you go by what we've seen on the moon, Mars, and other planets like Pluto, so on and so forth, I think this is the real deal. What do you guys think? I think we are part of something much larger, and I've been saying this for a long time, and that's just based on what I've seen on the moon and what I've seen on Mars, right? And you guys have done a lot of your own research, so you know what I'm talking about, and you can vouch for your own self. You're just saying like, well, yeah, I've seen these things as well, so yeah, I strongly believe that there's much more than just us. Guys, drop your comments down below. Give me your thoughts. Let me know what you think. And as always, like and definitely share the video. This information needs to get out, right? Especially this kind of stuff like this where if you put the grand picture together, like I said earlier, it all comes clear. Or at least 99% of it does, right? Anyway, guys, like I said, give me your thoughts down below and let me know what you think. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. And by the way, I got some Mars coming up. Pretty cool stuff. You guys are going to love this. So stay tuned for that. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Always appreciated. And I'll see you in the next video.